Hey folks, so by the way, if you look at the way I'm drawing this light bulb and the underwhelming result that comes out of it, I think you can understand why I'm doing a PhD in computer science and not a career in anything artistic. But anyway. Do you also struggle with information overload? If so, welcome to the club. I am Giulia. I'm a PhD student in computer science, which by definition means that I'm overloaded with papers that I should be reading and not forgetting. But I'm also just curious about possibly way too many topics in my personal life and constantly find articles online that I want to remember, that I want to keep for myself, and that I want to use further on in the future to learn stuff. I'm talking about a second brain, nothing new here. Tiago Forte talked about it way earlier than I did, and this is not a new concept. But today I want to talk about the way in which I implemented my second brain, my knowledge management system in Notion. Without further ado, I want to start screen sharing and guide you through the Notion setup that I'm using now and that I have been using for the past few months. Actually, before jumping straight into Notion, I think it would be more convenient to give an introduction to my three-step knowledge management system. The first step being the ingestion phase, where you take the raw food, raw material from online, like web pages, and you save them in a Notion database. The second step, you go over this database and you digest the content and you think about how that could be useful, where is that relevant for you, and you classify it in a way that will be useful for you and will be accessible for you the moment you need it to produce something new. Which is indeed the third phase, when you assimilate the content and you use it for projects, because you can actually find the content when you need it, where you need it, and this will fuel all sorts of ideas in your mind and will turn on this beautifully maybe drawn light bulb. I don't know, you guys. All clear, right? Let's jump straight in now. Welcome to my Notion setup, or welcome back if you saw last week's video and are already familiar with the dashboard and the way in which this serves us as a task manager. But that's not the goal of today's video, so let's jump straight in the core of the ingestion phase of my knowledge management system, which is the resonance board. This is basically just a database of all the articles that I find online that resonates with me somehow and that I decide to save for my future self so that it's going to be accessible in the moment where I need them. This is a template that I got from Ali Abdallah. We'll link that in the description box. And I capture content through the Notion web clipper, and then it's just going to feature here with all the content written down and copied from the article that I was reading online. An equivalent of this resonance board for my work life specifically is the paper library, where I do exactly the same thing, only this is specifically for papers, which I then tag with topics that are more relevant for my research. But there's not really a fundamental difference in this overall setup, so I will just go back to the resonance board and show you how I make sense of all these articles that accumulate over time and that in no time will actually make the resonance board unusable if I don't go on with the second phase of the knowledge management system, which is the digestion phase. As you can see from articles that I captured last month, so not literally yesterday, they are tagged and they are related to a project, or in general to an area of life like travel ideas. This is the digestion phase, and it's fundamental to keep having a usable and accessible resonance board, because over time this is just gonna keep growing and it would be impossible for you to find an article that you found online if you just indeed saved it and captured it, but just left it here passively without any further processing of that. So every Sunday, I have my digestion phase of the articles that I captured this week, where I add the tags that are just specifically, broadly speaking, areas like nutrition, work, writing, vision, inspiration, content creation. But also I link them to some, for example, projects where I'm actually working on right now, or areas of my life that are relevant to me, like travel ideas, so that they will be accessible from a different part of my Notion brain in a way that will be useful for me in that moment. I do exactly the same with the papers. I have unstructured papers that I still didn't tag fully because maybe I'm still going through them. And maybe I still didn't understand exactly how they fit in the grand scheme of the computer science research that I'm trying to tackle. But the moment when I'm done tagging one of them, I will just mark it as sorted and it will feature in a more structured way, for example, based on the conference, the OSDI conference, and I will have all the papers here. Going back to the resonance board, however, the third phase is the assimilation phase, where if you tag your content properly, you're going to be able to use it to produce something new for you in a timely manner, and you're going to have the content available for you when, for example, you have time to work on a project. In this case, the nutrition survey that I'm trying to write based on all the content that I read online. This is where I find the third phase, the assimilation phase, to be particularly relevant, because if you stop at just adding a tag like nutrition on an article that you find online, probably over time they will become so scattered around that they will be irrelevant for a specific focus point that you're interested in right now. And it's important in the assimilation phase that you bundle the articles in a way that is relevant to you for a specific focus point of your life, not only based on the area that might be nutrition, health, wellness, whatever, which is really not scalable in the long term as you keep adding hundreds, possibly thousands of articles to your resonance board and tagging all of them with the same, broadly speaking, area. Of course, the same happens with work-related projects. There's really not much of a difference. So, for example, I not only tag the papers based on the conference, the topic, the experiments that they're doing, I also tag them based on the relevance for a specific thing that I'm working on right now in a temporarily specific matter, once again. And for example, I have these 3 articles that are relevant for the paper that I'm planning to publish in a few months from now, and that would be quite hard to access if I only left them tagged with the topic, I don't know, OSDI, edge computing, whatever that means. So hopefully this quick Notion tour was useful for you to understand my knowledge management system and how I use it to first capture, then classify, and then actually work on content that I find online so that I do not lose track of that, and so that it is useful for me to actually grow as a person or improve my career and move me forward with my work goals. This was the end of the tour. But if you have any questions, please leave a comment down below and I will be very happy to address that and to make more in-depth videos on the topic. Okay, we have reached the end of today's video. If you liked it, please give me a like. And if you're interested in knowing more about the Notion web clipper and all the templates, also maybe leave a comment. I will be very happy to guide you through different steps of this very overly engineered Notion setup. Overall, I hope this was inspiring to you to pick up a capture habit and just save all the content that you find online to serve it to your brain in the future when they're gonna need it for some creative work or something useful. Because I really found it life-changing. The moment I started to practice this habit consistently, I found that my mind was sparking way more connection than it was before. And this really fueled a lot of creative thought in my mind, which I think just leads to more personal growth, which at the end of the day is what we're all striving for. So I hope this was useful for you. In next week's video, I will be talking about how I produce this new creative content and how I store that in Obsidian. And if you like that content and if you're interested in that, I hope to see you all again next Sunday. So bye.